So, I decided that for this video I was going to cosplay as Amy Rose. And I think I did a really good job, actually. I'm kind of proud of this right now. You see I kind of have like the whole look going on. I forgot that she had a red dress on, and I forgot that she had a headband, and I forgot that, so I kind of forgot a lot, actually. But I feel like for an on-the-fly outfit that this turned out really well. So surprisingly, I was able to find this muumuu here from Walmart. My brother and I went on a trip to go procure all the accoutrements for today's cosplay. I mean, that's crazy. You can find everything for a cosplay at Walmart. I don't understand how these people spend thousands of dollars. It doesn't make any sense to me. I literally found all of this in Walmart. This paint is 20 years old. I've had this in my garage my entire life. So, honestly, we got the freshest produce that we could find. Because for Amy Rose's hair, she deserves to have the freshest produce. All you gotta do is have passion in your heart. You gotta have a vision, and you just gotta want it. And that's what I did with this. I really care a lot about Sonic. I love Amy Rose, and that's what I'm gonna talk about in this video today. How Sonic has always been a really important part of my childhood. It's been something that I've really enjoyed my entire life. And basically with this new Sonic renaissance of all these games and these new movies, I've just been so excited to talk about Sonic. It's something that I haven't really gotten to talk about much for most of my life. Growing up, being a little girl and loving Sonic, just not a lot of other little girls usually were into that. Obviously, I loved Amy. I thought she was a great character. She was a girl. She was pink. My little brother loved Sonic too. It was a cool thing for us to share, but I didn't have any friends who liked it either. So, you know, I'll talk a little bit more about it later, but, you know, being an adult now, having the internet, having all these people on an internet platform that share all these niche hobbies and these communities where people can get together and talk about things that they love, it's just an entirely different environment from how I grew up drawing Sonic fan art, playing Sonic Adventure 2 on GameCube, and, you know, pretending that my Sonic MC was actually the most ultimate life form. I'm trying to be very sincere. Fetch me a lozenge. Hey, bro, just throw one. Just throw it over here. I'll catch it in my pocket. It's here. Sorry. I have a pain. I'm not sponsored, guys, but these things are great. So, okay. So, going back to when I was first, I guess, introduced to Sonic, I had this really weird fever dream of being very, very small and being like at an aunt's house. And she had some sort of Sonic pinball machine type game. This would have been like, you know, mid-90s. I genuinely don't know if that was a real thing or something I made up in my head. Regardless, that's my earliest memory of Sonic, and it's kind of just been something that I've been aware of my entire life. I didn't watch the TV show as a kid, but when the Game Boy rolled around and my little brother and I had some cousins who already had Game Boy Colors, obviously we had to get a Game Boy Advance. And so, had a Game Boy Advance, soon after got SPs. And so a lot of my video gaming experience as a kid was on the Game Boy. A big one being Sonic Advance 2, specifically. We never had the first Sonic Advance. Again, I think that's a game that my Game Boy Color cousins had, that I had seen them play before. But our big Sonic game growing up was Sonic Advance 2. Played that a lot. Had Sonic Advance 3. At some point, we got Sonic Battle, and that was wild. I couldn't tell you what the happens in that game. I have no idea. There's a robot. His name is Gary or something, and he runs up and down a beach, and I don't know. The fighting was really weird too. I mean, I think that was one of the first games I can remember just button mashing because I couldn't figure out like a strategy for it. But it was really fun. We played it all the time. The art style was really cool, and again, that was something that was really big when I was a kid, and especially my little brother. He's very artistically gifted. Did a lot of Sonic drawings. So we grew up really into that. We got a GameCube, and we had both Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. You know, I can't remember if GameCubes counted hours of gameplay on a game. I think they did, but if we ever looked for our like lifetime hours played for Sonic Adventure 2, it would probably be in the millions easily. And most of that would have been the Chao Garden, which I'm going to talk about that in a completely different video, because the Chao Garden is very, very important to me in my childhood. Sonic Adventure... Ow. Okay. I forgot. Oh my god. I forgot. You know what they say, you can't have a good cosplay without breaking a few eggs, without busting a few balls, am I right? Oh my god, that's heavy. It's 48 ounces. How much is that? That's like 6 cups of tea. Speaking of tea, when my brother and I were out today shopping for this really good cosplay, we found something really cool, and I'm actually excited about it. I'm very excited to share. So, my son loves these little character juices, so I always check out the character juice aisle. Sorry, they're called Good to Grow. I call them character juices. Actually, I usually refer to them as Mater juice, because my son has made me buy the Mater one from Cars like 7 times. So I was looking for some cool Sonic ones. There was a Tails, there was a Supersonic. Obviously I had to get the Shadow, but I noticed something strange while I was looking for another character.
No!
It's Maria. That's crazy. And they even got the height right. I mean, that's the Hedgehog, the movie 3. Its influence. Man, I remember growing up, there was a time when no one gave a shit about Sonic. Really and truly. It was kind of like the dark ages of Sonic. And I would have to say that was somewhere after... It had to be after Super Smash Brawl, one of those where Sonic was like an extra character, and people got excited about that, sure. But around that time, the only new Sonic games were one where he's like a f***ing werewolf or something, and one where he has a sword. I don't know. I think I played a little bit of the werewolf one. I just wasn't interested.
Yeah, we had the Wii one.
And after that, you know, nothing really came out. At least nothing really interesting culturally. You know, every once in a while there'd be a show, which, you know, I didn't particularly care about. There was a whole thing with Sonic having blue arms. I remember being a big deal. And, you know, at that point, I'd grown up a little bit. You know, I'm very mature now.
Mom sent us that text.
She did. She's always concerned about something.
Yep.
Hey, don't get snatched in Target, and also don't let a coyote gargle your balls after sundown.
Yes, ma'am.
But during that time, I was kind of going through a growing up phase. And again, I never had friends who really shared these kind of interests. When I was younger, being into anime and deviant art was weird. Now it's super big in pop culture, which is great, and I think that's awesome. But it wasn't really like that for me at that point in time in my life. Even being a girl and playing video games, and not really even in the not like other girls territory, just in the in the sense that, you know, being a kid, being a girl, having interests that don't really align with a lot of your peers. And I wasn't really one to usually give in to peer pressure, but I just didn't keep up with it. So I guess it was 2020 when the first Sonic movie came out. And of course I was gonna see it. I mean, to be honest, like I'd seen trailers, I'd seen commercials. I thought it looked fine. I thought the whole debacle with Sonic looking like in the very beginning and then getting fixed immediately was very funny. But also, I thought it was cool because it was like, oh, maybe the studio's like really taking it seriously. They're listening to fans. They actually care about this project. So I went into it, honestly, like with pretty neutral expectations. And I left very high-spirited. I was very happy with the direction the movie was going in, and I was incredibly excited for the second one. I didn't wash this teacup. It has in it. It's everything. So in 2022, coming off of, the pandemic, I mean, really, theaters, I don't know, it took movie theaters forever to come back. Everybody knows that. It was still kind of one of those things where if you went to the movies, the theater was probably going to be pretty empty. There weren't a lot of movies coming out that people were even getting hype about. So my brother and I went to go see Sonic 2, and I thought it was great. It was a f***ing blast. Knuckles was great, Tails was super cute, and there were, like, way less humans. So all things on my list were checked off. I thought Jim Carrey was even funnier in the second movie. It was a great movie, and I was so excited about it. But then the after credits scene happened, and I say this while I'm smiling like I'm eating shit right now, but I'm not. I'm trying to think of a time where I was more excited for a movie, or more excited like at a point in time during the movie, like while in a movie theater, and I can't think of one. Up until that point, seeing Shadow the Hedgehog teased on the big screen was crazy. It was bananas, really. Can't acknowledge that. Oh God, I keep like. So, seeing Shadow the Hedgehog on the big screen was one of the coolest things I had ever seen. I f***ing love Shadow. Like I've said, Amy Rose is my favorite character, but I mean, like it's Shadow. That's just the guy. He's the guy. And it's funny because it doesn't seem like it was 2 years ago, but that movie was so much fun to watch, and I did enjoy it so much that my brother and I actually sat in the car in his driveway for like 3 hours after we got home from the movie just to talk about it, talk about our theories about what kind of storyline they were going to have for Shadow, what was going to happen to Eggman, all this stuff. It was so fun, and it was great because that was like one of the first times in a long time I had felt really connected to my childhood, and I just felt so excited to be excited for something fun and, just kind of nerdy, just something that I could enjoy and not have to, worry about being an adult, the daily struggles of just being alive, and just trying to make life work. So Sonic 2 was a great movie. Obviously at that point, I wasn't back into it the way I am now. Clearly, otherwise I would have made this video 2 years ago. I wasn't really interested in playing the games again. It was just something that, it was like, yeah, that was a good movie, and I'm really looking forward to the next one. It just wasn't something that really got me back into the fandom. However, I was really excited for the third one. It was enough that as soon as Sonic 3 came out in theaters, my brother and I went to go see it. I think it was opening night. So, going into Sonic 3, I had my reservations at the very last minute, only because I was worried that I might be really setting myself up for being disappointed by this movie. I had kind of hyped myself up, and a lot of times when I do that, I just disappoint myself. And I think a lot of people do. So I had those thoughts, literally sitting there with my popcorn, with my Sonic Peach Mango Golden Rings flavored Mountain Dew, and then the movie started. So I'm sitting there, hand on my Mountain Dew, I hear it. It was so good. The movie was great. I knew immediately that this was going to be a great movie. I was so excited. It was lighting up every single childhood happiness nodule inside of me. Gold Ring, Mango Mountain Dew. Ooh, Dark Shadow, Blackberry Starry. That tasted like They had a list of special Sonic themed drinks. I ordered the Gold Ring drink, which was obviously the Mango Mountain Dew. And Peyton ordered the Dark Shadow, and it was just a starry with blackberry. I feel like there was another story with that. No, the drink was just shitty. It was just bad. It tasted like shit. Mine was really good, though. Oh yeah, Sonic 3. Let me go through my notes. So I was supposed to be taking notes throughout the movie on things that I wanted to talk about, things that I liked, and other than the opening scene, I kind of forgot about that because I was enjoying the movie too much. But the first line that really got me was when Eggman is looking in the mirror, his head's all f***ed up, and he's desirable to all possible genders. And here's where you Photoshop my head to look just like this. But Eggman was funny. Everything that Jim Carrey said in that movie was hilarious. There were a couple lines that he had in the first two movies that I have rewatched recently because in this new Sonic Renaissance for myself, I've been really excited about getting my son into Sonic, which he is now. I'm officially the Sonic parent.
We'll play the Shadow voice clip. We won't play the visuals. But
Yeah.
We'll just...
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely that.
Wait, moment of silence.
My son, no!
Good job.
Wait, I can't. No, I forgot how the story goes. Anyway, because the everything Eggman said was hilarious. There were a couple times in the first two movies where he had a few one-liners that were just like cringe, bro. Honestly, I don't think I really had a moment in Sonic 3 where I, didn't at the very least think it was funny in my head, go haha in my head. Maybe not haha out loud, but haha in my head. Almost everything Jim Carrey said was so funny. Both of his characters. Overall, just the humor from every character and the situational humor in Sonic 3 was just so much better than the first movie. Overall, I actually laughed out loud multiple times at Sonic 3. I don't know who the writers are, who the writers were. I guess I could have done research, but so I don't know if it's just they got in the flow of things, or now you have these fun characters in the mix that are a little bit more established, and the way they interact with each other is really interesting and really funny. Especially the dynamic between Knuckles and a lot of the characters was something that I really enjoyed, and I think a lot of other people did too. And then of course just Shadow being cool and being stoic and being Keanu. And speaking of Keanu Wholesome Chungus 100, I don't know, what the was wrong with the internet that day that someone decided to say that Hans Christian Andersen was going to be Shadow, but I got really excited for that, especially as someone who grew up with a dad who loves Star Wars. I watched Phantom Menace when it came out, okay? I didn't participate in bullying that kid online, but I loved Anakin Skywalker, okay? Just like most angsty teenagers did. So I got caught up in a lie that I was excited for. So honestly, no, I was not super psyched for Keanu Chungus Shadow. But I loved Shadow enough as a kid, and I thought he was so cool that I was like, you know what, whatever. I'm not gonna let that deter me just from watching the movie. I'll slip on that later. But when Idris Elba was announced as Knuckles, I was very confused. And Idris Elba has always had this air of being like basically a James Bond kind of guy. So I didn't really think that fit until I watched the movie, and I loved it. I thought it was great. So, I was like, you know what? Hey, Jesus, take the wheel on this one, right? So I said, F it, whatever. I was proven wrong in the last movie. Maybe this will be fine. And yeah, I was completely wrong. Honestly, from Shadow's first line, it just fit him. Something about Keanu's voice, he's very stoic. He's gravelly. I was proven wrong basically immediately. Shadow was such a cool character. It was great. And I was pleasantly surprised that Shadow had more lines than what I had initially thought was going to happen. Because, having a big A-lister like Keanu Reeves, I thought, maybe he'd say just a handful of things, like just enough to be like, oh. But he had a line, several lines in like every scene he was in. It was cool. I like the part where he says, "Revenge guac." Damn near pissed myself. I might have. I don't know. I wore Depends just like specifically for that purpose because I was very much prepared. I was in Girl Scouts for like 10 years. Keanu Reeves is Shadow. The hog. Oh, good one, Hot Topic. That was funny. Revenge guac. Well, I wrote receive. Autocorrect. So receive guac. Oh, the nasty bit. So, one just little tiny thing, little bitty thing that I had with the previous movies was the human element of the story. I just hate it. I hate it so much. I want to watch a Sonic movie because I want to see my cute anthropomorphic animals run around really fast and be friends and go on adventures and save the world. That's what I want to watch. So the less humans, the better. I was very happy with the amount of screen time that the human characters got in this film. It felt appropriate. When they were in a scene, it was necessary for the plot. And I did think it was a fun, cute little callback to, like, have the Rachel and Randall characters show up. As a huge Criminal Minds fan, I love Randall, so any opportunity to see him, I'm fine with. Also, let's be real. I can't even do it. I just can't. Nope, we're just gonna skip that. Yeah, and as lame as this might make me sound, I loved the dance scene. It was so funny. It caught me off guard completely. And seeing Jim Carrey, it was very funny. It was completely off-putting and made me slightly uncomfortable at some parts, but it was hilarious. Like I said, completely unexpected. And that was like the level of humor that Jim Carrey kind of kept it at the whole time. And I just thought that was great. It was so funny. Dumb and Dumber gag in the dance scene. Kenichi, why wasn't it there? If you've ever seen a Jim Carrey movie called Dumb and Dumber, there's a scene. Basically, Jeff Daniels gets shot, Jim Carrey's upset, and then Jeff Daniels miraculously comes back to life because, surprise, he had a bulletproof vest on. And Jim Carrey's like,
but what if he shot you in the face?
So that being said, I was very convinced that it being Jim Carrey, that joke was somehow gonna work itself into the scene. So I was disappointed when there was no mention of...
No Dumb and Dumber tribute.
No Dumb and Dumber tribute. Dumb and Dumber did not get its flowers that day. So really, amongst all of my notes, most of them were dumb one-liners and things that I thought were really funny, because that's kind of how my brain works. But as far as talking about the movie as a whole, the coolest scene was obviously when you have Supersonic, Super Shadow, and they're... I wish he was super. You can pretend that that's the Chaos Emerald. I mean the Master Emerald. And they both cross each other in the night, in the space sky, and then they... And then like, that's gonna be on the cover of, like, a billion 10-year-old boys' math folders next year for school. Karen Ritter, too many clothes. Shadow, too many clothes. The way Eggman eats a burrito, f***ing disgusting. You know, the character of Maria, I think she was great. I really love the way they incorporated Live and Learn with her playing it on the guitar. I thought that was really, really sweet. And surprisingly, I liked a lot of the scenes with her and Shadow interacting. They were very sweet. I didn't think there was too much, and I thought they were like genuinely very nice scenes. However, I was a little off-put from the jump with how tall she was. She just looked a little bit older than I had envisioned. You know, when you grow up playing the games and you see the tiny little Alice in Wonderland looking little girl, it was kind of funny just to see her next to Shadow, being like, you know, 2 feet taller. But it was fine, it was good, and honestly, it was probably closer to real life, but that did catch me off a little bit, and it was funny. Her death also, I was surprised. I mean, you know it's coming, but I was surprised that they did go with the death. Obviously, it's not quite the same as it was in the video game, not quite as violent. I had seen some like discourse online about people getting mad that she didn't get shot in the face. Personally, I'm unbothered by it. I mean, she still died, so that's still pretty traumatic. So that all worked out pretty well. You know, a child. It had to happen, is what I'm saying. I did enjoy, I know we're talking about gripes, but the character of Shadow, normally he's this really cool, brooding kind of character who kind of just always tends to act like he's sort of above everything, even in Sonic Adventure 2, the video game. He's just a very cool character, and I don't just mean like cool like epic. I mean cool like just very, you know, he just exists on another level than everybody else.
But what did you mean when you said you will grant me a wish?
Bring more Chaos Emeralds.
Shadow, wait!
I'll be waiting for you in the central control room on the Space Colony Ark.
Ark.
This Shadow, however, and I guess you can attribute it kind of to the way that Keanu plays him, or the way he is in the movie. You get a little bit more backstory and a little bit more context for what he does. But I liked that this Shadow was just kind of sad, was just depressed, which to me it works better with his character. You understand it a little bit more. This guy has a lot to be depressed over, and I think his character was very clearly just sad. So I did like that. Highly disappointed in no Pumpkin Hill rap. To be honest, I really didn't have any gripes with the movie. I mean, just, you know, little superficial things. I had to kind of like sit and think about a lot of these things to try to even put together, and even then there's still facets of those things I have to complain about, or the things I didn't really like. There's still elements of those things that I really enjoy, or I feel like, you know, the movie couldn't have really done another way. So, you know, overall, I just didn't really have a lot of problems with this. Yeah, so this movie, I just loved it. I was genuinely like shaking with excitement when I saw Super Shadow, Winter Sonic. My son called him Winter Sonic. I don't know why. I didn't even know he knew the word winter. But I got so excited seeing Super Shadow on the screen, and not just, you know, something I don't know if everybody appreciated this as much as I did. You know what? Take that back. I'm sure a lot of people did, but he wasn't yellow. He was platinum. He was platinum Super Shadow with his red highlights. He wasn't yellow. I hate yellow. He wasn't yellow. He was platinum. He looked so cool. Sonic looked really cool. I mean, we'd already seen him go supersonic. That was fine. I do wish that Shadow had said Chaos Control, but honestly, it didn't even matter. We saw all the Chaos Emeralds busted out of the Master Emerald. That was cool. They got their moment in space. That whole fight was so cool. Everything about it was awesome. I don't know. I loved it. The entire, like, the last 10 minutes of the movie, it's edge of your seat. It's awesome. Robotnik is amazing. All the characters are amazing. Everything that they do is cool and epic. Everything is on such a huge, big scale. It just feels like this really fun, big adventure. And growing up and playing the shit out of Sonic Adventure 2, It's a Sonic plot that I know so well. I couldn't tell you about any other Sonic game as much as I could tell you about Sonic Adventure 2. So seeing this game on the big screen, something that I have literally grown up with from, the time I was a wee lad to now, was just so cool. It was so exciting. I'm sure a lot of people know what it feels like to be in a fandom and you don't get thrown a lot of bones, every so often. And if you do, sometimes it's not always great. You just kind of gotta take whatever you can get. But this felt like 100% like the movie was for fans. It really cared about the source material. It cared about the people who wanted to watch it. All of the actors seemed like they just had a great time. It was so much fun to watch. And I don't feel like you watch a lot of movies now that are family friendly, fun, kid-adjacent films where it does seem like the adult actors are really, really enjoying themselves. And that's definitely the vibe that I got from this. So to see something that not only to see a story play out that I have been familiar with basically most of my life, and to see all these amazing actors be a part of it, just awesome. It was just so cool. And that's it. I feel like I've been gushing about this and saying the same things over and over, but I'm not a movie critic. I know, right? It's a part of the thing. So there's not really anything technical that I could talk about or comment on, but as someone who grew up with Sonic, as someone who loved it as a kid, watched Sonic X every Saturday morning because my little brother made me wake up early just to see if it would be on, and we didn't know how to check on demand, so sometimes we would miss it completely and watch 3 hours of Kirby and some other dumb shit that was on there. This was just such a nice breath of fresh air. I think especially coming out of COVID, where, I don't know about you guys, my whole life changed during COVID. I changed my career, I started a family, which are all amazing, great things, but to feel so adult and to have to deal with adult things every single day, basically all day. Sometimes you forget to be a kid. And as cheesy and dumb as that sounds, it's just so important. And to have that feeling again over a movie about an anthropomorphic hedgehog that goes on adventures and saves the world, I'm all in. I'm all for it. I'm just so excited to be making this video, to be making this kind of content. This is something that my brother and I have wanted to do, like collaborative stuff forever, and I've never made the time. But Sonic has me so excited that I am ready to make a YouTube channel about it and buy action figures and drink tea. So there's a lot more that I could say about my excitement for everything that's coming after this movie. I mean, I lost my shit when I saw Amy Rose on screen. I was so happy. I mean, you see Metal Sonic before that, and it's like, oh, that's fucking awesome. That's so cool. And then little do you know that last 2 seconds is coming up, and you see it, and you see the hammer. It's like 2008 Iron Man. The end of that movie, what? You see Thor's hammer? Who cares? Who care? I don't care about Thor's hammer. I care about Amy Rose's hammer. Okay? Pico Pico hammer. And I am gonna make an entire video on my predictions for not just Sonic 4 and what they're going to do with the plot, but specifically what they're going to do with Amy Rose and who Amy Rose is going to be voiced by. Because I got some ideas brewing. Sorry. I got some ideas brewing, and I'm very excited to talk about them. Because again, regardless of whatever my predictions are, or whatever is said, whatever's announced down the road, I'm going to be excited for it, and I'm not going to lie. I feel like with the trajectory that this series is going on, I think it's safe to say that if you were a fan of Sonic 3, I think you can be very excited for Sonic 4. I know I'm going to be very excited for it, and... Oh!